Ladies and gentlemen and variations thereof, welcome to the Selectives Lorecast, a casual Elder Scrolls podcast. My name is Rotten Deadite, and with me today are Zells. You go first.
I'm Zells, also known as Zells.
Or Zells, you go first.
Mm.
Yeah, okay.
And I didn't have my mic on. I'm Zells, also known as Zells.
Hey, Rare.
Hey, all good. And I am James, also known as Aramithius.
And today we're doing, I'm pretty sure, Volume 6, right?
Yeah.
We did not the Daedra, the Dwarves, the Dwemer last week. So
Yes. Yeah, we did.
And so, oh yes, thank you. Everybody get your bingo cards ready. This week we're doing Volume 6, which is mostly about the Clockwork City.
Yep.
And it starts, Behold the Clockwork City, the throne aligned. Throne, I think we get aligned is, I'm guessing, just another clockwork terminology.
Yeah.
The omni-axle.
Ooh.
So this is interesting. Well, actually, the whole thing, it'll loop around. The brass throat herald of joyful destruction, the oil slick tower of seamless assembly, rejoice, rejoice. Okay, so the omni-axle and the oil slick tower of seamless assembly, this is all the axle upon which a wheel turns, which we're very familiar with this metaphor from Elder Scrolls Metaphysics. But the omni-axle is interesting because it are you okay, James?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It just didn't stay in place.
Oh. The omni-axle is interesting because it suggests that this is a tower or an axle upon which all wheels turn.
Mm-hmm.
Which sort of places it in more like, like an elevated state of the other 8 towers, metaphoric towers of Tamriel. The tower in T.S. Somerset that exists everywhere. Yeah. It's that was something they suggested in the Somerset. They were talking about.
Yeah.
Which one?
The throne aligned.
The crystal tower.
The crystal tower.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
And the Sotha Sil's attempt is to make the throne aligned be aligned with all realities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is a tower through everything.
Yes. And I read that and I thought that the talk about Mundus being the center of the Arabic wheel and stuff. So this is again going through the like nested things in the center of the center of the center, getting more and more real as you sort of get closer to it. Now this is the ultimate thing that is real. Sort of, I don't know
more real than everything else is.
Yeah. I don't know whether they're meaning to sort of evoke Amber in this sort of way of thinking, sort of the Chronicles of Amber, if you've ever read that.
Oh,
yeah.
And that sort of thing of there is the pattern that is the foundation of reality and city upon which it is built, and every other shade of reality, including our own world, is just a shadow of, or reflect a pale reflection of this city that is built upon this cornerstone of reality.
And is contrasted by the courts of chaos that have a nice analog with the Daedra. I've always felt that was a powerful metaphor for the Elder Scrolls universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
No, I was going to say I just read that.
Yeah.
About a year ago now, and it's only just now starting to click how it all fits together.
Oh, all right.
So yeah. It's a good read.
Oh, hey, PhD postpart. Oh, congratulations, Owen. Wow.
Ooh,
there you go. A PhD doctor. Yes, he's a doctor.
Yeah, a Dr. Owen.
Yeah. And Deldries Morvain also calls it the oil slick tower of seamless assembly, and more noteworthy, the brass throat herald of joyful destruction. So you can't say brass anything without thinking about Numidium.
Yeah.
And the brass throat herald of joyful destruction is, I think, James, you pointed out in your commentaries that this is sort of like the opposite to the Numidium being like an angry destruction or a destruction of terror or hate. Whereas this is what's happening here. But I mean, when we talk about what is the Clockwork City supposed to do, what is the idea behind the correction of reality that Sotha Sil is encouraging, what form is that going to take? What's that going to look like? This kind of lends me to believe that Sotha Sil's leading us towards a destruction of some kind. But the idea being that it's destroyed to be rebuilt.
Yes.
As opposed to the Numidium, which was just nullifying everything. Just destroying and then never reproducing.
Right.
Deleting versus transparency? Deletion versus reconstruction. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gray goo. LCL. Get in the fucking back, Shinji. Listen, child of the tribunal, do you not hear the whir of gears, the hiss of pistons? It is the voice of Sotha Sil calling you to the Nirn ensuing. To the Tamriel final, Anuvanasi, cast down your worldly maths. Loosen the chains of your selfish pursuits. Shall I describe it to you? Shall I guide your eyes to the future of Nirn? Hear the words in sequence, dark child. Close your eyes and awaken. Oh, that's a good sentence. Close your eyes and awaken. Gaze up to behold a crystal sky girded and bound by Set's bright bands. These are, if you play the Clockwork City, you can kind of see it behind Zell's there. The sky is notably artificial. And if I recall correctly, it's suspended up there by these huge girders. But I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, you can look up in the sky and see the huge gears. I wish I had it in the picture that I've got in my background, but you can see the huge gears whirring across the sky. Because it's and if you stand outside of it, at the little bitty miniature that you can see in Mournhold before you step into it, you can see all of those same gears whirring around the outside of it.
Let's see. Look down to behold the black stone of his will. Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth? What is this, James? What word is this?
Where are you looking for?
This is in your comments in the Truth and Sequence notes.
Oh, the black stone of his will and his imagination may play. Sorry, that's me sort of musing aloud, and just Yawgmoth is sort of the big bad
Magic
antagonist. Yeah, from Magic the Gathering. And he was sort of he was wanting to kind of make everything anew so that it wouldn't decay and it wouldn't and so that it wouldn't be something that's subject to natural law in effect, and was basically kind of trying to make a synthesis between natural and artificial and all sorts of kind of nightmarish processes that change things into things that had no will, and it was all sort of horrible. This sort of idea of it being the black stone of his will. So you've got that, from what I can remember from how I was sort of piecing that together, is that the idea that there is some sort of solid suggestion that there is a core to Sotha Sil's will that's driving everything, which is sort of the same way that Yawgmoth is. Yawgmoth ultimately sort of becomes a world in himself. He becomes the center of Phyrexia, and all sorts of kind of it's done in a very, very kind of pulpy paperback way.
I was about to say, this is reminding me a lot of the Conan universe. There's a mysterious black stone that the ancients use to construct things in Conan that's supposed to have a certain property to it.
But I don't know. I can't quite remember what my logic was to get there for that. And there's some bits and pieces that this is storytelling is talking about Memnarch and Mirari and all of that.
Brother of Urza?
He wasn't the brother of Urza. He corrupted the brother of Urza. Yawgmoth was this is complete tangent into older Magic the Gathering stuff, but Yawgmoth was a doctor on a world that was dying, and he was essentially diagnosed as all of the life force leaching out of his old world, and the brother that this is storytelling is remembering. I can't remember his name, but he gets in touch with this brother and directs him through the power of a stone that splits in two. And Urza ends up with the other half, and all this. I'm kind of, I'm kind of mangling it to a fair bit, and then just sort of, and Yawgmoth just thinks I need to keep on going. I need to get more resources. I need to infect these people with a condition of being that will not die and will carry on, and does all sorts of horrific things to get there. And sorry, I've just seen Doc's comment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
Alexa
God.
plays Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah.
So Sermons was playing Pokemon. Sequence
Oh my
was playing
God.
Magic the Gathering. It's only fair that Alma plays Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Alexia's pillow book just consists of 400 pages of Box of Greed. Or Bag of Greed, or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
You
But no, and it is bizarre because a lot of the sort of the images of the Clockwork City are quite close to some of the descriptions of Phyrexia, this kind of blending of the machine and the organic. But it's used in a different way. It's used in a way that is hopeful and optimistic, whereas Phyrexia, it's very deliberately trying to be horrible. Although Tuttle did say that he thinks that Sotha Sil's perspective is absolutely horrifying, and he is absolutely basically a white villain in Magic the Gathering terms.
Baka suggested Sotha Sil plays an all blue deck.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Blue artifact deck. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So that's the line that we were just talking about, is look down to behold the black stone of his will and his imagination made clay. Drink his...
Sorry, it's just clicked another thing as well. There's lots of mirrors throughout this whole thing. Like we were talking about how the pillar kind of represents Mundus as the center of the wheel and all of that. But the black stone of Sotha Sil's will, what is the stone of the Adamantine Tower? You go to the bottom of it, and it's the Zero Stone, which is a black stone. There's so many parallels in here about the Clockwork City being that little microcosm, and the black stone, the foundation of the of reality for the Clockwork City, is Sotha Sil's will. I think now that that's clicked, I think that that's what it's trying to evoke here. That Sotha Sil's will is the Clockwork City's Zero Stone.
So is it canon, or are we assuming that he is trying to mantle Akatosh with the time thing? Is that a given, or is that just me?
Ooh. Clockwork time as opposed to experiential time and all the rest of it.
As opposed to wibbly wobbly timing, I mean,
Yeah, I've always sort of assumed that his whole thing with the clockwork and the throne aligned and all of that is that he's building a world in an attempt to basically mantle and take over the paradigm from the Aedra. So he's making himself the center spool the way Akatosh did. Is that me?
That would seem a fair ambition, given that he's after something that is not of the Etarda gears and wants to kind of chuck them out and get them remade under one single will and such like.
Yeah, he's basically trying to break Akatosh's timeline into something new, and that ends his the final version of it. Yeah, I see the mantling Magnus, even down to the leaving. That's interesting too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get away from the time thing.
Yeah. But there are parallels with several of the Etarda, which I suppose there would need to be if you're trying to replace all of them.
Yeah, I'd never really thought about all of them. I was always kind of centered on the Akatosh thing because of time. He is the center. I mean, he's putting himself at the center of his own pantheon the same way that Vivek does. And it seems to me like part of Vivek's deal is trying to come up with a different power source so that Z can continue to survive the events everybody knows is coming. So the Seal obviously knows those events are coming too. So it seems to me like he's trying to build a plan, and this feels like the plan. I've derailed us though.
Well, I think one of the things that I was hoping to get from doing a deep reading on the Truth and Sequence was to try to get a clearer idea of what Anuvinasi looked like, or what the process of Sotha Sil's change, or the connection between the Clockwork City and Anuvinasi was exactly. And I don't mind spending a whole lot of time just guessing, or I guess guessing is the wrong word, but I don't mind spending a whole lot of time of speculation out loud, of trying to figure out what exactly Sotha Sil, of trying to solve the mystery of Sotha Sil.
Yeah.
I don't think for one second that, well, I hope that we can't. Because
he is the mystery, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because part of the point of Sotha Sil for me is that he is indecipherable, that he's that he can't, he's incomprehensible. And part of that has to do with the way that I learned about magic in general because Sotha Sil is the mage. The way I learned about the fundamentals of magic was from Carl Jung, who suggests that magic is that which cannot be understood. And in a similar degree, he said similar things about God. And there's other, like largely Gnostic interpretations of God that will also agree that debating about the nature of God is impossible, because the nature of God is that he cannot be understood.
So was Arthur C. Clarke plagiarizing Jung and talking about any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic?
They were all kind of friends.
I think, but Arthur C. Clarke was talking about that any sufficiently advanced technology from you is indistinguishable from magic. So it's not necessarily about like technology can get to the point where it just looks like magic. That's not true. Technology can get to the point where it looks like magic to us who know nothing about that technology. But to the people who engineered that technology, arguably, it seems more like that. Now, on the other hand, like I and again, we're way off topic here, but I was considering this video that's started circulating the internet recently of an AI that was taught to play Doom. I think we mentioned this before.
Oh, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
And so one of the feature of this AI was not that it was interpreting Doom's geography and math and then rendering it. It's that it was taught what Doom looks like, and then it was given, I think, something like a 8 or 10 frame memory, or 6 frames memory, and that it was then rendering. You were able to use regular inputs, and it was rendering out of its mind video that you were then able to interact with on the mouse and keyboard and move around with. And that in fact what you were being seen had nothing to do with math whatsoever. It was just this AI hallucinating real-time video. And I suspect that abstraction of what previously was entirely math and algorithm based, that abstraction into a silicon artificial brain, is where technology ultimately will go in the next millennia. Eventually it might well get to the point where technology is indistinguishable from magic from the people who actually built it. That they turn it over to the reality generating organism that they've constructed, and then that creates for them effectively something that they have no capacity to comprehend, because that's its job, because they built it right. Anyway, so that it does sound like something Sotha Sil would make. The idea of a creator creating something that is so advanced even he cannot understand it goes right back to goes right back to, you know, can God build something that he cannot lift?
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
The next paragraph mentions brass and godly filigrees. Black book, filament, and filigrees, if memory serves, is about a blacksmith relentlessly crafting a piece of metal for something in order to run away from his inner turmoil.
Oh, something from Black
From the Black
Books.
Books.
Okay.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Black Book series. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
One of Morris' Black Books.
Yeah.
Well, let's drag ourselves back onto topic again and think about
Yep,
that.
absolutely. Yep.
Drink his true thick as blood from the broad black rivers. Feel his breath on your skin. That's creepy. Let its dreamy redolence fill your nostrils and sting your eyes. We're heading into slash fiction at this point. You stand at the center of the wheel, the home of the mainspring ever wound. Pretty obvious at this point. We're talking about the tower that is at the center of Sotha Sil's existence.
Yep. And it's also talking about becoming one with it. It is that you are in the same space. This is not just be there. This is be it in various ways. It's or just being experientially full of it, because it's the whole thing of it filling your nostrils, stinging your eyes. Yeah, it's talking about the whole experience of being close to set. This is you're coming up sort of a new a numinous religious experience here,
right?
Is what it's trying to evoke, as far as I'm concerned.
So
it also we're bonding with Set, but then Set's bonding with us to bring the kink back into this. But no, but part of Kim, right, would be to be encompassing everything.
Yeah.
So if he's doing that, then we're part of him, and then we're all part of the tower. And
yeah, Draylen points out that Sotha Sil's first Factorum was a self-aware AI. And ever since then, he's been trying to make them not self-aware. Yeah. It could probably scared the shit out of him, you know?
That is 100% correct.
And that, again, that's about, like I said, it's like the artist creating something, or the creator creating something that they're incapable of comprehending.
So I have a question. Does anybody know for sure what Sotha Sil did with his arms? Why his arms are missing?
Oh, I don't know. I have been wondering that. Yeah.
I keep wondering if the bones and things
he replaced them with longer arms to help his layups. He's, I mean,
he's
the best basketball player in Tamriel.
I actually think that's legit. I mean, I think the metal hands can make smaller, more precise things.
Oh, yeah.
So he may have done it for that reason, but I've always wondered if his arms aren't part of the Clockwork City, if they aren't the biological elements, and that's part of why it had to be small.
It's possible. I mean,
Lake Otis suggests, is it possible that he cut off his arms because he was approaching God?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my immediate thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Was he very injured when his house was destroyed? Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I would like to know. Is there a canon reason that we know for sure?
That I would buy Johnny Ananos' thing. Like if that's not in a story somewhere, that would surprise me. That sounds like a very reasonable thing for them to say, is he was just horribly injured and he had to replace that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or on the other hand, like everybody's kind of circling around in chat, maybe the moment he realized the weakness of his flesh, it disgusted him. And you know.
Yeah.
He was missing his legs in Morrowind, but I don't know if he's missing his legs in ESO. He's just Darth Vadered it. Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to say something about which parts the parts that he would be missing if we're going by foul murder would be his face, because he's holding up Nerevar's face.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
So the feet is what Almalexia takes in that particular piece.
To record his life. Yeah.
I just feel like if there's any part of his flesh that he could have used in the construction, I mean, there's always this thing, Clockwork. He's called Clockwork, and the city's called Clockwork, and that goes back and forth. That the name is the same thing, and there's a whole magic deal about using your blood in spell work, and I feel like using a body part in spell work would be a big deal, Especially if he is trying to mantle the Aedra who built the world out of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that
Yeah,
that point
built
about
the
scale is really juicy. Yeah.
Well, okay. So obsidian towers stretch ever skyward, festooned with polished brass and godly filigrees. Great turbines drive memory through 1,000 pipes that stretch out like tangled veins, or the golden roots of an ageless tree. And wandering amidst the humming and hissing paradise are his second children. Oh, fuck you, man. The Cyranoism. Cyranoism? Cyranoism.
Fabri Cyrenosum.
The merged ones.
Fabri Cyrenosum.
The merged ones, it's easier.
We'll just call them that.
Yeah.
You can write the shit, but you can't say it. I can't talk shit. I wrote a mod that had the word I can't even remember the name of the thing anymore. The name of the name of the space station in the Secunda project was some awful
alien.
Yeah, some awful amalgamation of letters and words.
Yeah. Oh, this is storytelling has an interesting point. Is removing two spokes of the wheel mythologically relevant? Because if we're thinking about the idea of man as the world, the five. Well, but you remove, you add two spokes to that, and you have 7.
Yeah. Well, but the wheel has 8. It's according to most.
Yeah.
Again, we've been reminded not to fucking do that. We've been reminded by a number of developers, don't stick to like one number for the number of like Aedra or whatever. That is very not important, but you know.
Well, it's very paradigm specific, right?
Yeah, it is. It's cultural and paradigm specific, yeah.
Yeah.
Birthed in of the unsequenced and bound to Nern ensuing. All right. Birthed of the unsequenced? Of the unsequence?
Yes, because you remember there's talk about your minds cannot bear the ordered unsequence. So birthed of the unsequenced to me reads as birthed of perfection or something like. Just let me double check where that is. This is the merged one. Talking about the merged ones.
The Fabricants, according to you,
they're born of perfection because they are coming from Sotha Sil. So they are already a part of the thing to which the Clockwork Apostles are immediately aspiring.
So these are the Fabricants?
According to
or
UESP.
the Factotums? Are they the Fabricants being the beasts that are part organic and part metal? Is that why they're merged? Or are these the Factotums that are wholly brass but have some kind of intelligence in them? And that's the merge.
Yeah.
See, I would think it would be the Factotum. Because that was something that they created in ESO. And so it would make me think that that's what they were talking about, not the Fabricant. The word is closer to Fabricant than Factotum. Fabricirianism. They cry out in one voice, death to multitudes, woe and terror, let the fragments melt the boiler of unknown angles. Oh, fucking hell.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Let the falsehoods burn in the furnace of forgotten numbers, disassemble and cleanse, dismantle and make whole. They are the guardians, the ever-wound key lords. Only the nameless heart avoids their wrath.
The nameless heart.
The Nameless is also one of the titles to Sotha Sil. So one who is close to Sotha Sil.
Okay. Their hatred of discord.
That's the way I would read it.
All right. Their hatred of discord knows no limits.
One of the nameless cogs in the machine that is Sotha Sil as a whole.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're mad at everything except Sotha Sil.
Yep. And
they're trying to eradicate everything that is disordered.
Pretty much. And yeah, because this is just a thing throughout the truth and sequence that multitudes are bad. Having lots and lots of things, it's the epitome of bad. Like the Dwemer are crying out multitudes, multitudes. Is the last time that we saw the word being used. And further on, it talks about cursed multitudes, truth blind multitudes, and all sorts. It's if there's more than one of it, then the truth and sequence doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Is sort of the end thing, and this is striking towards monism all the time.
So that the idea that that they are actively trying to destroy disorder pretty much says to me that this is closer to Fabricants than Factorums, because the Factorums were almost like servitors, sort of, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think USP has this right. The nameless heart of their hatred of discord knows no limits, for the road to Tamriel final is not a bloodless one, child of the tribunal. Anuvanasi, contemplate this with a pious heart. Seek a clean and well-oiled soul, it shall serve you well in his truth to come. So you see the Clockwork City is like Sotha Sil himself. Rich in beauty for the faithful, and a light with sublime terror for the servants of chaos. In which Clockwork City would you reside? Commit your small blasphemies and think on this. So, this is one of the many ways that, I don't know about Sotha Sil, but Dildris Morvain goes right against tribunal teaching. Because while and frankly, like Ashlander teaching, because, James, have you frozen? Yes.
Yep. Hopefully we'll get him back. He didn't just pull his L's and disappear.
So I think that I think that answers that. Yeah. Yes, he has frozen. We definitely really between many. Yeah, chat's got some really good stuff going on in it. I thought he was just locked in. Me too. I thought he was just like really like fucking like yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Oh wait, I think he's messaging me. So back short, internet decided to reset. Yeah, that'll happen. Oh, here we go. There he is.
Yeah. Yes. Internet decided to reset, and so it just decides. No, I'm just going to turn myself off and on again because why not do that several times a day?
Just to do it. Yeah, you froze. The expression on your face when you froze looked like you were just really seriously reading something. Like,
yeah, you were so locked into what was being said.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that this certainly Ashlander tradition is very much about embracing chaos and or embrace the suck, as the Marines put it. Learning to find joy in unpleasant shit, and testing yourself and just fucking coping, and this, on the other hand, is no less a difficult path, because Sotha Sil's, or at least Dildris Morvain, is encouraging people to live as strictly as they possibly can. This is how you end up with, like, Eastern Orthodoxy and like Spanish self-flagellation and stuff like that. It's removing the impurities from your soul. Which human beings have in the real world have a tendency to be a little tragic about. He enjoyed his setbacks in the boulder rolling back. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking. Like we've had this conversation at great length before about Ashlander culture being about life sucks, get a fucking helmet. Like it's a very sort of a Fremen Dune-esque philosophy of, if you want to be the biggest badass, you have to go and learn to survive in the worst hellhole you can. And you have to reach heaven through volcano. Nah, fight. And you have to, Mikella would get along. Yeah, Johnny, a little bit. Sotha Sil and Mikella would be tight. And that's kind of the idea of just changing not only like your workout routine or learning some ridiculous martial art or something, but changing your entire culture to cope with being constantly beset. And it works sometimes. Sort of. Draylen, in my opinion, having lived a very soft life as a cisgendered white middle-class man, it seems to be like eventually you have to get to the point where you make things more comfortable so that people can advance the society to a certain point. It's just like, you know, if you spend your whole life being like fucking Tyler Durden survivalist and like, you know, living off of the land and making your own clothes out of animal skins and all that kind of shit, you reach you can derive a certain amount of satisfaction from that. But if you want things like antibiotics, if you want to do things like not have to shoot your daughter in the head because she broke her leg and now it's gangrenous and, you know, you have to put her down, things like that. If you agree that this method doesn't work, it's like if you want to increase your quality of life beyond the survival point, you have to develop a culture and an environment where advances can happen, and that but it's very difficult to do that when you're constantly fighting for survival. And while there is certainly something to be said about having the self-confidence and sort of, I don't want to say like emotional soul-purging experience of going out and surviving in the world and learning the skill and knowing that you have the skills to survive on your own if the worst things happen, that has a certain amount of confidence that it can give you. And an amount of perspective where you can say, look, I mean, as bad as my job is right now, I've lived worse when I was picking berries in the forest and, you know, didn't know if I was going to live out the night. So it could always be worse. That gives you a perspective, but it doesn't... It shouldn't be the way that people live all the time, and I would argue that it is very difficult to truly embrace that lifestyle if you know that you can walk away from it.
Yep.
Because the knowledge that it can be temporary undermines the whole point of the experiment. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah, his point was that reaching heaven through a volcano works sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the interesting things too. Now, this is not written by Sotha Sil, but in the lessons written by Vivek, he's very careful to include Alma and Seal on a regular basis. I mean, they're not as cool as Vivek, obviously, because you know Vivek, but he does mention them. But this Truth and Sequence, you know, written by Deldries, very much is putting forward this mono culture. You know, I don't see Seal needing Vivek or Alma so much in this portrait that our dude is painting here. And in fact, one can make an argument based on this text that they are extraneous and disordered, that they are not part of the clock. So I don't know, weird.
Yeah,
there doesn't really seem to be a place for them. It's true.
Hey, actually, while I'm thinking about it, we're pretty much at the end of this sermon. So everybody say something in chat, just anything. Just say hello.
Hey.
Yeah, so that the bot can pick you up. And let's do this friggin' giveaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go.
Yep, absolutely.
I've got a window of 15 minutes, so we only have to do this for a second.
Cool.
Something in chat. There you go. That's literal.
Yeah. If you weren't here earlier, this is for a giveaway for a hard copy of the 36 lessons, which looks absolutely glorious.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
From our friends at Kettle Abduction Bookbinding. Yes, good. Okay, hopefully that's everybody. Let's give this a roll. The bot will announce the winner.
Ooh.
Good lord, Nightbot. Oh, okay. Oh, relax. What are you? No, he's eligible too. Yes. And so is that. And so is that. Okay, everybody's marked. Roll it. Okay, Wild9. Congratulations. You have won this book.
And is there a link to be able to purchase it if anyone else wants to purchase one?
That would be a great idea. Hold on. Let's look them up. So there's Kettle Abductions Coffee, Ko-Fi, whatever.
Bye, James.
James gave up again.
Who needs stable internet?
So go there for more cattle abduction. We're gonna do the next we're gonna do the next sermon. We haven't stopped yet. Let's see. Wild, give me are you on the Discord? Because it'd be best to communicate through our Discord channel. Now you can sleep. Yeah. Well, great. Yeah, send me a DM on the Discord on the Discord with the internet, and we'll get in touch that way, so that I can ship this thing over to you. Go to sleep, storytelling.
Hey.
Yeah. 99. And
Okay.
let's see, unknown 453. Hey, there you are. Okay.
Typing is hard.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll talk after the cast, and I'll get your address and shit. Volume 7. Right? Yeah, sure. We got to clean out.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Love it.
Juvens, that's fascinating, and I will have to ponder that now that you have said it.
Everyone is still spinning with Jigleg is just sheer Gorath at the height of his madness and will never become separate, and I will die in this.
Oh, this
Sheogorath on the height of his madness.
I see it.
Where are we?
Pure order being the height of madness.
Yes.
Something in chat, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the continuum is a circle instead of a line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or you could think of it as a wavelength. So he's peaking at the height of manic depressive disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Or bipolar, excuse me.
Yeah, it's
does his madness vary? Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of veers into chaos theory. It's the idea of if the universe is deterministic, but you then, in order to know all of the initial conditions for things, then you need to know absolutely everything down to the finest little bit of minutia, which is, in order to do that, takes an obsessive
amount of order.
Order. Yeah, and it also takes an obsessive mind to be able to compute and calculate all of that. So yeah, it's just.
So you're saying that Jigleg never left, but he is repressed at this point. He's locked out. But he didn't go anywhere. That's an interesting distinction.
The hero of Kvatch has basically stopped the cycle from going in that direction, has reversed it. Yeah. Or skipped over it. Something,
Yeah. And Juvens is pointing out that it's sort of implied in that anyway, that what the stuff that was in Volume 4, the whole only the Grey Prince of Order knew his nature and went mad in the knowing. It's just the idea of order itself and understanding the place and all of that is enough to make it to make something go horribly wrong.
So if you can't be in a Newick Daedra without going mad, what about Meridia? Isn't she a Newick?
Yes, but then again, it's difficult to define what sanity is when we're talking about Itada of any stripe.
Fair enough.
I think, yeah. So,
arguably Malakath, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
maybe even
Azura.
Yeah.
You are bullshit. You don't want to know how.
Boethia as well. if there's an argument to be made for Azura, which I think there is, then also for Boethia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are any of the Daedra or Aedra saying you can't really apply sanity to a thing that thinks like that? No, I don't think. I would suspect the Molag Bal. Yeah. So, Volume 7. Think now on the wheel to all things it appertain. Is there anything so sacred as the wheel? Well, not in this universe. Like Tamriel Final, the wheel both moves and does not move. Anuvinasi, the axle sleeps while the spokes make haste, round and round in reflective circles. Now here dwells a nameless secret, child of the tribunal. Does a thing move when it moves in circles? That's...
Yeah.
We've sort of struggled with that philosophy here quite a bit. Yeah.
And there's also the I remember seeing a Calvin and Hobbes strip that was sort of the same, sort of playing on the same idea that that you think about how when what's being talked about with the whole kind of the kind of spoke and the spokes make haste and the axle sleeps. The axle doesn't really move. The point that this was sort of making Calvin's dad saying to Calvin, did you know that the thing at the edge of a CD is has to move through X amount of space in order for it to play properly, but the middle only moves about a third or whatever of the distance to maintain a constant RPM. And the end shot of it is just Calvin wide-eyed at night, just kind of staying up about this, just kind of
staring at the ceiling.
Yeah, or the equivalent. And so it's that idea of the paradox of both motion and being static, or relatively so, but all being part of the same thing, is just part of the movement in circles, because RPM is constant and all the rest of it.
Spinning wheels motivated in one sideways direction, even in the air. So, like, I mean, the thing is, like, even like a CD, for example, it's arguable that just spinning a wheel spinning is moving, but it's not traveling. If you think about things in a relativistic sense, you know. And again, I mean, if you then stand on the wheel that's spinning, then it's not spinning at all. It's staying in one place. Everything else is spinning.
Yeah.
But we could go on. So, motion lies at the heart of the Nirn ensuing, but not all motion is nameless. Not all movement earns his blessing. So, nameless is a good thing here, remember?
Yes.
The divine metronome calls the first motion the motion of lines. What's the divine metronome? Have we done that yet?
The divine metronome is Sotha Sil. That's right.
I would assume
it has come up.
Yeah.
Good.
It has many names.
Yes.
Line
and yet
motion.
None at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Line motion is the motion of simple minds, the motion of weak wills and scholars' vanity. Vivek's got a similar view of straight lines, I should mention. Forward, it cries. Forward to the fruits of cheap ambition. Forward to the promise of everlasting kingdoms. Forward to the mirage that the sages call progress. These misguided pioneers venture out into their wild tomorrows and the tomorrows after that, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Forward to the mirage... I skipped a thing. Certain of their worth, their virtue, but what profits a man or mare to gaze deep into a single future? The aims of mortals are narrow, far too narrow. To move forward is to ignore infinite angles in favor of one. It is the act of a beast or a child. The clockwork god spurns vanity in the guise of courage. These explorers' travels only lead them farther from Tamriel Final and Nuvanasi. So...
this is a diatribe against linear time, right?
Maybe, because...
And simplicity.
The problem is that he's arguing against, or Deldris, I could be a woman, I don't know. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure Deldris is. It sounds feminine, at least to my ears, but
they are arguing against linear time, while at the same time talking about clockwork and order, which then in and of itself lends itself to linearity. So the problem is that Deldries is trying to create this concept of an ordered all of multiple possibility and everything like that happening in a way that it is intended to happen.
It's
That's what I'm suggesting.
It's an argument against progress. Certainly, it feels to me that progress is not possible if you're thinking about sort of imperfect beginnings. Is more or less what is the way I think about it. That that you can move from something to from something that is bad to better. That the aims of mortals are too narrow. Is sort of the idea of that you can gaze deep into a single future. Yes, but does that single future matter? Not necessarily. And you ignore infinite angles in favor of one. I mean, we're back at Amber, but and there's these ideas of achieving infinite possibility in favor of one being better than another one, and those sorts of questions. That it's comparing different types of development and saying that you cannot have linear progress that really matters. You cannot have just development that's worth it if you're starting from imperfect beginnings. At least that's my sort of takeaway. Just given the general tone of the truth in sequence against redeveloping things or just things developing on their own.
Yeah, and that because if you develop something, if progress happens, that means that there was an imperfection that you would travel from, and the whole point of the Tamriel final is that it is perfect. So motion in the concept of Deldries Morvain here is circular motion in the respect that it doesn't lead anywhere; it just spins in place.
Yeah,
it moves without moving.
It doesn't need to. Yeah.
Right, exactly, because it doesn't need to. And this is a different viewpoint of the Inuic idea of progress, of progression, I should say, because the traditional idea behind the viewpoint of Inuic time versus Patamaic time is Patamaic time, everything is happening all at once, and therefore nothing is happening. And Inuic time is nothing is happening because everything is there. And what Deldries Morvain is suggesting is an amalgam of those two concepts, where everything that is going to happen will happen the way it's intended, and it will happen as we spin towards it. But at no point will we deviate from a path. So in that respect, we are not moving. We are not progressing. We're just spinning in place. We're just whirling.
I have a question. This was written by Tuttle
I think so, yeah.
for the Clockwork City expansion for ESO. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when Somerset came out, they also redid the character tutorial. And in the character tutorial, when you start the game, you begin in Durrani Tower, which is the Adamant Tower, which there's a lot of suspicion now that that's going to be linked into Elder Scrolls 6. I have been working on my Athelia video with the Scalarium lore, and I found some ties from the Scalarium to the Durrani Tower. And the Scalarium is also linked to Athelia and the Magna Gi. So this whole bit about there being a linear time instead of infinite angles, that's an Athelia thing. She says that in the 9 Coruscations, when they're talking about Athelia, she saw the infinite array of play between Padme and Anu, and was struck by its beauty, and then was infuriated when Akatosh, the time god, smashes it all into linear time. Are they seeding any of that here? Because it really looks like they're seeding stuff in the rest of the Somerset, Clockwork, Vardenfell chapter set.
Yeah.
The idea of creating a loop. Here's a thought.
It does feel
Here's a thought.
That way.
Here's a thought.
Yep.
Are we going to end up in a situation where after ESO ends up like no longer producing expansion, are they then going to start new servers that have an expansion release progression schedule like World of Warcraft does? Is time going to start looping in ESO?
Juvens, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, ZOS did not come up with Athelia and put this into the game without working with Bethesda. And it's so big that I feel like, I mean, they're also doing TES 6.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of fan speculation that TES 6 is going to involve Durrani Tower and the rest of the Magna Gee somehow.
Yeah, it feels a bit too close now you present it for it to be anything else. But
let's just set up Megaserves. Good point, Wild. Yeah. I'm just wondering if
it's. I mean, it could be setting up for a sort of a cataclysm to reset. There's only so much more of Tamriel that they can explore in their current thing. They're running out of land masses. So,
well, I don't think so. There's always moons.
That's true, and there's always different moons too. But TES, I mean, if we really have been tearing down towers for 20 years, at some point, I mean, we all love Tamriel. We don't want it just to disappear and not have anything left. So at what point does the cataclysm happen and everything restarts and we get a fresh Tamriel without so much back history that a new person can't learn it?
We have a new Kalpa.
Exactly.
The final game will be set in. Will somehow involve. Balfira, and you're done.
We've got 1,008 years where you can do any fucking thing you want.
This is true.
And I was personally disappointed that that's not when this game took place. Because I was full on ready to be like, if you just put it during that Dragon Break, you could do any fucking thing you want, and it won't have anything to do with, it won't hurt nothing.
Yeah.
And when I say anything you want, I mean fucking anything. And it seemed like an obvious solution to me that like it would have explained why multiple players were fulfilling the same quests over and over again. It would have explained so much if it had just been happening. But all right, whatever.
And
make that MK space game where you shoot math guns and set it during the middle dawn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, although they did unfortunately categorically say that ESO is not happening during a Dragon Break at one point.
They did. Yeah, they did say that.
Came out and say that. So, which is just... I
don't know. It's one of the most interesting in-universe game mechanics that I think Elder Scrolls as a setting has, is the idea of, like, time being broken and paradoxical, and I think that's woefully underexploited, you know.
Although Drelian does make a good point that in order for it to be in a Dragon Break, it would kind of be
unplayably weird. I that from the way it's been described by people in like Where Were You when the Dragon Broke and stuff, it does sound like it would have been almost impossible, but it doesn't mean a Dragon Break couldn't happen 5 minutes after.
It gives you an excuse to do to put out a really janky game, apart from anything else. It's not a glitch. It's just the Dragon Broke.
It's a feature,
just in your game.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
personalized content.
Set speaks. Did we cover all the blah 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 best of Beast of Child? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Set speaks of the second motion only in whispers. The pendulum or named oscillation is the tick-tock motion, the motion of entropy and false hope. None but the clockwork god may claim its dark power. With each wide swing, it shouts Lorkhan's lie. Hail, intentions divided, hail, cursed multitudes. Do not stand in the pendulum's path, Ash Child. Only the mainspring ever wound may bear its weight. So...
this is Lorkhan.
Yeah. And the named oscillation or the pendulum... it does sound like Lorkhan. It doesn't have to be because it says it shouts Lorkhan's lie, so it's just echoing that. But I can't think of any other... like, the idea behind a pendulum is that it is the thing that makes the... it is a mechanism in a clock that makes it... that allows it to operate in... with motion, you know? Yeah. What it is basically is it's this method of storing energy, really. But
yeah,
um,
it's also going on. It's also going on notions about intentions divided and Sisyphus is the beginning of all houses and that sort of thing. Hail, cursed multitudes. It's a cleaving of one from another. It's the constant sweep of the tick tock is duality. So, and that's where it's going from there. Even without the shout of it shouts Lorcan's lie. Even without that in there, that would be entirely what this is, because the two and duality and all the rest of it. As much as the Lunar Lorcan says that Lorcan rails against duality, it's still a bit. But then again, I'm perfectly willing to throw the Lunar Lorcan in the skip because it was written by a darn fool.
But also the idea behind Lorcan rejecting multitudes or rejecting duality is an interpretation of what Lorcan's trying to do. Lorcan, in theory, is trying to undo the binary separation that causes conflict in Kalpas. But is that in fact what he's trying to do? That you can interpret the Lorcanic concept that way. That doesn't mean you're right.
It's that book has been taken as solid gospel for so many people for so long in the lore community, and I'm just horrifically skeptical of it, just simply because the only other book that Faldrune put out has been proven to be manifestly false and rubbish because it's disproving a dragon break, but it's from the future.
So
you're talking about the Lunar Lorcan?
The other book he wrote was The Dragon Break Re-Examined, and so it's just why would you necessarily take everything this other thing he wrote as absolute definite, which many people do.
I don't know that there's any source in the game that I ever look at and say this is definitely the truth.
It's brilliant.
It's always a perspective. That is the beautiful thing. You really have to do the job of historian and put all of the data points in a constellation, and then
still at the end of the day, you're still like, but maybe.
Can we just have a sure foundation, please? Just for a little while, it would be nice.
Esoterica just put out a video on Moloch, which is this devil entity in the Old Testament that supposedly people were worshiping and sacrificing children to. And in like the first quarter of the video or something, Dr. Sledge is just like, there's a lot of evidence that this shit never actually happened. And he just goes down like this list of like all the things that make this extraordinarily doubtful and almost certainly political, and that the actual like word Moloch might not have actually meant a demon at all. It might have meant the kings of the lands that they were walking through. And anyway, wonderful stuff. I haven't finished the video yet, but it's been absolutely fucking captivating. So Set speaks of we did that. Last is the reciprocating motion, the sublime piston. The lover's embrace. Like the father of mystery, it gives and takes in equal measure, as the bow upon the strings calls forth the sublime, as the carpenter's saw it wrenches back and forth, sundering the named pursuits of lesser mare. Only a nameless heart may harness its strength. The artist, the star counter, and the engineer call it muse. The truth-blind multitudes call it destroyer.
Ooh.
What the fuck is that about?
Yeah, it's a particular kind of fic that goes from sublime pistons to saws.
Yeah, it's the action and reaction. It's Newtonian physics. Is what it's sort of calling on here, that saying that there is some sort of motion that will then have a motion in return, which is a good thing, which it again appeals to the circularity that's earlier in the sermon, the kind of the spinning to return to the place where it was, the reciprocal motion where something oscillates and then oscillates back. That all still works. for that same concept. It's motion that doesn't lead anywhere, that still kind of produces things, or that still is still useful somewhere within a machine. And so it's I'm not quite sure why a pendulum isn't quite this, but then again if you compare this to the pendulum, it's got the reciprocating motion has 2 points around which it moves, rather than just the one that's the pendulum. But I don't know why 2 in this case is a good thing. I that's sort of I can sort of reason through it. It's just being named as sort of a sort of a production for it. Oh, Johnny is saying
Yeah,
in
that's
chat
interesting.
the sublime piston being the heart of Locan, but the sublime piston, because using the heart of Locan as a power source, we do have some evidence that I think it was in Legends that Set was building a replacement for the heart of Locan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So so that sort of heart motion or presence of the heart, and so that sort of thing would be a type of motion that Set definitely wants to emulate. So maybe I don't know. I don't have much more thoughts than that on it at this stage.
So, do you see now, child of the tribunal, every moment and hides intent? Stray from the wheel is to abandon the clockwork god. In the Tamriel final, all shall spin and only spin. Anuvanasi. So, every movement hides intent.
Oh no! Every movement hides intent, which is a way of saying every movement has an intent.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's how I read that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That makes more sense.
Which makes it simpler.
So either you're moving with the wheel and your intent is correct, or you're just straying from the wheel and you're abandoning the clockwork god, which is the worst thing ever.
Yes.
Well, if you're moving at all, what you need to be doing is spinning. It's just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Matthew's here too.
Hey.
Great, because we just finished. So we'll be back in, I hope, 2 weeks. I don't think I have anything happening in 2 weeks on the 21st. Yeah.
This is good.
But I mean, things have been happening. You guys, if you guys have been following this cast, you know all kinds of shit's been happening to keep us from doing this stuff. So yeah, God willing, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Who won the book? Oh, I don't even remember his name anymore.
Weird.
Yes.
Weird 9? Weird 8?
Wild 9.
Weird.
Yeah.
Wild. Close.
Is anybody going to the ESO San Diego meetup? I didn't know there was one. Shit.
I am not. I cannot afford.
Yeah, I don't think I could fly to San Diego either. Yeah. If there's going to be one on the East Coast, maybe. But, you know, hopefully somebody will let me know, because I clearly have no idea what's going on. So yeah, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, I hope. But we'll see. Everybody, bye-bye.
Bye.